Hey guys, welcome to our digestive system video. Today we're going to be talking about three main topics. The first is we're going to go over all the organs of the digestive system. Then we're going to look at the path that food takes through this system once we eat it. And then finally we're going to talk about 6 different digestive diseases. So we're going to start with these primary digestive organs. The primary organs basically compose one long tube, and food travels down this long tube as it gets digested, and nutrients are absorbed from it. This long tube is referred to as the digestive tract or gastrointestinal tract, aka GI tract. These primary organs include the mouth or oral cavity, the pharynx, which is our throat, the esophagus, a muscular tube that squeezes food down to the stomach. This usually takes about 10 or 20 seconds. And the stomach is also a muscular organ, which is where the long digestive tube gets a little bit bigger around where we hit the stomach. The food stays in there for about 4 or 5 hours and then is squeezed back into a smaller area of the tube, which is the small intestine. The small intestine is composed of 3 main parts. You have the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. This ileum of the small intestine is not to be confused with the ileum in the pelvic bone, however. After food spends another 2 to 3 hours in the small intestine, it enters the large intestine, which is another muscle, where it could spend another 30 to 40 hours. This large intestine includes the cecum at the very beginning, and then the 3 parts of the colon, which are the ascending colon, transverse colon, and then descending colon. At the end of the large intestine is the rectum, and finally the anus is the hole where the waste is excreted. Did you catch what all of these primary digestive organs have in common? They're all muscles. Smooth muscles, to be exact, not to be confused with skeletal muscle and the cardiac muscle that makes up our heart. So now let's take a look at the accessory digestive organs. Our primary digestive organs could not do their job without these accessory organs. We're going to talk about 3: the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. The liver secretes bile into the small intestine, where it helps to digest lipids or fats. The liver has many other jobs, but this is what's key for digestion. When the bile isn't being used, it's stored in the gallbladder, which lies right next to the liver. Finally, we have the pancreas, which is this banana-shaped organ behind the stomach, and this secretes pancreatic juices. What's in these juices? Primarily, digestive enzymes compose the pancreatic juices, and these enzymes get secreted into the stomach and into the small intestine to help with digestion. So now let's take a look at that path of food through the body from the moment it enters our mouth. The path of food is divided into these 3 different stages. When we talked about the primary digestive organs, we pretty much just covered the path of food through the body as we went down each digestive organ. I want to also draw your attention to these processes though. What's actually happening in each of these organs as the food passes through? So we have first digestion. And this occurs starting in your mouth, actually, and then continues all the way down into the stomach and even some digestion occurs in the first part of that small intestine. Absorption of nutrients from our food occurs in the intestines, both small and large, but primarily in the small intestine. So that second part is absorption in these intestines. Once we get all we need from the food we eat, it gets compacted in the large intestine and sent down to the rectum so that it can be squeezed out through the anus. And this is called excretion. So we have excretion when our waste gets expelled from our body. I also want to talk about some of the names that our food is given as it makes its way through the GI tract. From the time our food is chewed up in our mouth to when it gets to the stomach, it's referred to as a bolus. Once it enters the stomach, we refer to it as chyme. The bolus is more of a distinct ball of food, while the chyme is more of a messy mush that is partially digested and the food gets all broken up so that our nutrients can be absorbed from it. So it's chyme all the way through the intestines, and then once it enters our rectum, at that point we consider it waste. So once the food gets to the very end of our GI tract, it's just waste and is excreted from our body. The last thing we're going to talk about are some of these digestive diseases. What could go wrong with our digestive system? Well, there are many diseases that we could talk about that can occur at any point in this GI tract, as well as could affect accessory organs. I'm just going to mention 6 common diseases, and we're going to talk about which organs they primarily affect. You're going to do some digging into the details of these diseases later in class. First, we have diverticulitis and ulcerative colitis. These both affect the large intestine. Crohn's disease can manifest in many parts of the digestive tract, but usually is limited to the large intestine or the small intestine. Gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, has to do with that junction between the esophagus and the stomach. You get some reflux into the esophagus. And then peptic ulcer disease manifests primarily in the stomach itself. And last of all, cirrhosis is a disease that affects one of our accessory organs, our liver. Like I said, you guys are going to do more digging into these diseases later, but now you know the organs we're going to be talking about, you know that path of food through the body, and you have an idea of at least what some of these diseases are and which organs they are affecting.